Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far. So I finally have in my paws the Pat McGrath Labs foundation. If you don't know, if you are new here, I ordered this the second it came out, next day delivery did, and Selfridges, not Pat McGrath, she would never do this to me, Selfridges sent me a completely different shade to the one that I ordered. So I now finally have the shade 18 that I actually ordered in my hands, and we are ready to do our review. So first things first, the shade. So I want this to be a lesson for us all. I had at least 2, maybe 3 people tell me that shade 18 was way too dark, they're much darker than me, and they're like shade 14 or 15. So I just want to talk to you about shades on YouTube. The camera does lie. It definitely does. Don't ever watch a YouTube review and based on what you see or what you think that person's skin tone looks like in comparison to yours or in comparison to another YouTuber you watch, guess your foundation shade, because it's so misleading. I have lights everywhere, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see me. I also have different settings on my camera. You have different settings on whatever device you're watching this on, screen brightnesses, etc., depending what quality you're watching it in, all that kind of stuff. And every YouTuber uses different ones of all of those. You cannot watch a video and think you know what shade somebody is, as I discover all the time, because everyone thinks I'm like an NC25. I'm currently probably an NC40. The deepest I go in summer is like an NC42, but I'm olive. Olive tones are totally different to like a real warm tone. So it's hard to compare someone who's like a real warm toned NC40 to someone who's olive tone, because it can look cooler. It's just like comparing apples and oranges. So this is definitely a good shade for me. As you can see, it's actually lighter than my body, which is fine. I'm quite happy with that. I will get lighter when we get into the winter months, and I want this to be, I want to get some use out of this bad boy because it's expensive. If you didn't get the memo, it is expensive. It is pricey. So I don't want to only be able to use it for the next couple of months and then it sit in my drawer. So shades. So here is the Pat McGrath in the shade 18. Next we have NARS Aruba. Then we have Lancome at shade 55 Beige Ideal, and that is the UK shade system. US is a completely different system, so I can't help you with that. But that is 55 Lancome Teint Idole. Next we have the Huda Beauty in the shade Baklava. Next we have the Rodial foundation in the shade 50, and last but not least we have the Laura Mercier Flawless Lumiere in the shade Suntan. So it's definitely in this same sort of family of tones. The closest match to it is probably the NARS Aruba. They're very, very close. Shade 18 of the Pat McGrath is like a hair darker, but in tone they are both definitely sort of more olive shades, as is Huda's Baklava, definitely the same sort of family of olive tones. So please bear that in mind. I always list my like closest foundation shades in my description box, winter and summer. Obviously at the moment I'm in my summer shade, so that is hopefully the most helpful I can be to you. But please don't watch a video and think you're the same shade as someone just based off what you see, because it is apparently extremely misleading. People think I'm like 10 shades lighter than I am, so bear that in mind. So I'll have all the claims about this foundation on the screen for you, and I will also post the ingredients, so you can pause the screen if you want to read all the claims or you want to read all the ingredients. The one thing to note is that alcohol is high up the list, so it is 4th on the list of ingredients, and I know that lots of people are sensitive to alcohol. Lots of people with very dry skin, that will be like a no-no, that will be a turn off for you. For me, I don't have any issue with alcohol. I have normal skin with a slightly oily like nose mainly, and like slightly T-zone, but it's mainly my oily schnoz. So yeah, normal skin, slightly oily in the T-zone. It's not an issue for me. This is a very watery foundation, and we don't know the percentages of the ingredients that come before alcohol. So for example, if the first ingredient being water is like 85%, there's not going to be that much alcohol. Alcohol does actually serve some helpful purposes in foundations, in skincare, etc., it can actually be, you know, a useful ingredient to have, but obviously not if it causes you specifically problems. So make your own mind up about that. If you are like me, if you're normal, if you're oily, it's probably not going to be a problem unless you have a sensitivity to it. But yeah, you know your own skin, you know whether alcohol is an issue for you or not. So that is for one to bear in mind. Next thing is, obviously it is very expensive. It's Pat McGrath. It is an expensive high-end brand, so no surprises there. But you do get 35 mils in this foundation, so you're getting 5 mil more than like your average foundation amount. So actually this is much better value for money than the powder which I previously reviewed, which is a very small amount for a lot of money. So this is definitely a better deal. I'm definitely happy with the price point and the mils of this one, but obviously it still is, you know, it's a pricey baby. It is. So without further ado, let's whack it on my face and see how we do. Okay, so I'm going to prime my face first using the Tatcha Silk Canvas, because this is what I have come to start using every single day of my whole life. So here is the foundation. Obviously we've seen the box. It's incredibly luxurious and unique. Everyone's been kind of comparing it to like a cigarette box. It is. I'm definitely going to keep it. It's just beautiful, like soft touch, chic box. The glass packaging, very, very chic. Again, everyone's been comparing it to like a perfume bottle. It's got a pull-off cap and then a pump. We all love a pump. So I'm going to be using my Sigma F80 to apply it. Sometimes, or all of the time usually, in reviews when I haven't used the foundation before, I'll do half a sponge and half a face with a sponge, half a face with a brush to see which is better. This being a very watery, liquidy, runny foundation, it is definitely going to soak up a lot on the sponge, and I see this as a very light coverage. Pat says, you know, it's pretty buildable, apply it in thin layers and build it up. Because it's so expensive and it's so runny, I want to get the most coverage I can with as little product as possible. So I'm going to be using a brush so it doesn't soak up all the goodness and all of my pounds, because that's a lot of pounds. So what I'm going to do is give it a good shake. So you can see my main skin concerns. I have what is it called? Melasma. I have melasma on my forehead, my chin, here on my cheeks. I also have some mild rosacea that is kind of behaving unusually at the moment. So those, I do have some stuff to cover, you know, don't think I don't, because I do. So let me just show you. Very runny, very runny. So I'm just, that's one pump. Oh, it smells lovely, like lotion. Definitely smells a bit like perfumey. So I'm going to just start applying this to the old face-a-roo. Oh yeah, so okay, so definitely starts off like sheer to the sheer. This is, it's sheer guys. I've got quite a lot of redness on my nose. I mean, it is kind of definitely taking the edge off. You know, Pat's thing is definitely like a skin-like, look at the state of this, a skin-like finish. You know, she's the mother, I mean, of everything, of dragons, apart from dragons. That is taken, that's taken by someone else. I really wouldn't say it's like covered much. It's definitely, I mean, everything is still visible. You can still see redness. You can still see my melasma. That is a definite sheer coverage for sure. What I like about this pump is you actually can control the pump. It's not like you have to go all the way down. You can just do these little smidgies, which is ideal with this type of foundation, because you can just kind of dot wherever you want your coverage to be. So obviously I want to kind of cover my melasma on my forehead. That's done that pretty well for such a natural foundation. I mean, it's taking zero blending. I will definitely give it that. Like, I am putting zero effort and just putting it on and it's blended. Like there's no blending graft needed. Just taking that down my neck because my neck is like the same colour as my face, as you can see against my body. The foundation is actually a bit lighter than my bod, but that I don't mind because, again, because it's expensive, I didn't want to buy like the darkest shade I could match my body to. Like, I feel like if I was to match my body right now, I'd have probably chosen shade 21 because my bod, as you can see, very, very tanned. But we are kind of in the midst of summer here in the UK, so I just don't want to only be able to use like this for a couple of months and then it just rot in my drawer because it's too dark. So I decided to go like, you know, just a hair lighter than my bod, kind of match between like my face, neck and bod, give me a bit more longevity. And I think, again, because it's so sheer, the shade doesn't have to be exactly spot on because it's not, you know, so full coverage. Now it looks like I'm putting about 50 pumps on my face right now, but I'm just doing little drops. I'm not doing full pumps. I'm doing like, I'm probably on like 3 or 4 pumps now. But the pumps are small. You're not using a huge amount as far as mils. The pumps are small. I'm using little half pumps at a time and doing the thin layer jam that Pat loves a bit of. Okay, so I'd say that's kind of like a light coverage all over. I know like Pat has said that if you put her powder on top, that's going to give you a bit more coverage. I have reviewed her powder already, but I don't want to put powder on top of this today because not everyone will want to buy the powder, primer and foundation. Some of you will just want to try the foundation or be interested only in the foundation. And let's be honest, no foundation is any good if it will only work with like its own powder and primer combined, because that's just silly. So we want to see what the foundation can do by itself for those of us who only want to purchase a foundation, or for those of us like me who doesn't really set their face with powder. I want to see how it does by itself, you know. I don't want to have to use the whole system. I don't think that's okay. So we're nice and close. I will just say applying this is just like a dream. It just goes in on its own. I feel like you could probably just whack it at your face with a spoon, to be honest, and it would just be seamless. Might be slightly an exaggeration. It's got a lovely glow to it at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how it kind of dries down. It hasn't covered my melasma. It's definitely toned it down, but clearly you can still see that jazz. The redness, pretty much covered, although my redness, like I said, pretty chill right now. Melasma here, still poking through. The chin area still poking through. Nobody ever claimed this foundation was going to be a full coverage. Let's be honest, it's not. It's definitely a light coverage with a fair bit of building up. I can add in like some concealer now if I want. I can add some powder if I want. But ultimately, if you're looking for like a medium coverage or more, it's not going to do that for you. It's a sheer light to maybe medium, you know, with 68 pumps and some powder. So bear that in mind. That is the key thing to remember. It doesn't claim to be a medium to full. It's not going to cover all of your secrets. We have to make peace with that. It looks literally like I have nothing on, but it has taken the edge off all the discoloration, redness, even my skin tone, all of that stuff. It looks and feels like there is nothing on my face. If you hate the feel of foundation, definitely a plus. It's light as a feather, if you will. Yeah, looks like nothing on the skin, just looks like glowy, beautiful, healthy skin. It's like, it's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't it beautiful? All the troublesome areas, like between my brows, around my nose, and like this area for me is really textured and just wrinkly and old. I don't know what to tell you, but this is usually my problem area with foundations, especially more glowy ones, because it's just like a bit, it's got some lines, it's got some texture, it's just not my favourite zone of the face. So yeah, everything, it looks perfect. At the moment it's not sinking into smile lines, and I have like 5 on each side. It's not sinking into my chin lines, nothing weird happened on my nose or between my brows. It's just doing a great job so far. So let's finish my makeup, do a flash test, and I'll be back in an hour to see how it's all settled in and how it has finished up as far as the glow and the dew, whether that's still there or whether it has disappeared. See you in a few. Okay, so we are back and I finished up the rest of my makeup today. I used the Anastasia Saddle bronzer. I also used the Amrezy Highlight, very lightly, just kind of on my cheekbones and my nose. I used the Jeffree Star concealer and setting powder under my eyes, down the bridge of my nose, a little bit on my chin to cover the rest of that melasma, and a little bit just above my brow gap and down the bridge of my nose. So I didn't set the rest of my face with powder. I haven't used a setting spray. We're going to see today how this foundation does by itself. It is looking beautiful, very, very flattering on like lines, texture, things like that. Let me show you. Welcome to my forehead, my 35-year-old liney AF forehead. It looks so good. It looks as good as it ever looks. Nothing has settled or soaked into my smile lines, a flippin' actual miracle from God. Nothing weird happening around my nose. Nothing weird or bad happening on my chin area, which is quite unusual for me. Like I said, my chin area is like a real problem for me because it's very textured and just old. Everything went on top of it beautifully. I didn't set with powder, as I said, so everything was going straight on top of the foundation. Obviously I used a gentle hand like I always do when I do that, but nothing moved. Everything felt like it had been powdered. Like it felt as if I had powdered, but I hadn't. As far as stuff was going on, it was going on beautifully and seamlessly. Everything looks like a flippin' dream. I have done a flash test and there is absolutely zero flashback to be seen. It photographed beautifully. At the moment, this is very much my Rodial Holy Grail foundation in a lighter coverage form. So there we go. At the moment, it is 1 o'clock. I finished doing my foundation about an hour ago at 12 o'clock. So we're gonna do a good wear test today. It is hot and muggy here, yet monsoon rainy, so that's quite a combo. I'm going to take my daughter, she's on her school hauls, we're going to go and see Detective Pikachu, we're going to have some lunch, and then she's got her swimming lessons. So it is going to be a fairly trying day for this foundation, sitting in a swimming pool, eating meals, hot humid weather, rain. We're going to try it out today. We are going to try it out. So I will see you in approximately 8 hours. Hi guys, I am back. I have done swimming, I've done cinema trips, I've done meals, I've done it all. It has been hoofing with rain here all day long, but I didn't want my foundation to get soaked by the rain because I feel like that's a tad unfair, It doesn't claim to be waterproof, but I definitely got spat on, not by a human person, by the weather. Definitely had some drizzle on my face today. It's very humid here, so it's kind of, although it's a miserable rainy day, it is very like warm and sweaty. And I have just sat on a swimming pool sidelines for 2 hours. So I feel like we've done a decent test of this foundation for the last 8 hours. And the horrifying news is I freaking love it. And I'm so sorry because it is pricey. I mean, I'm comforting myself with the fact that it could be worse. It's not like Lumiere prices or La Prairie prices, but it is the most expensive foundation in my collection, I think. I think it is. So yeah, it is pricey. It looks beautiful, I can't lie to you. If you're looking for some comparisons to give you an idea, the finish incredibly reminds me of my Rodial, like the sort of glowy and luminous, but so smooth and skin-like, but obviously the Rodial has a lot more coverage. It goes on and builds in a similar way and has a similar consistency and feel to the Dior Backstage, but it's much more radiant and it doesn't build as much coverage as the Dior Backstage does. Those are the two that it kind of reminds me the most of. Yeah, so there you have it. It feels slightly tacky, like the tiniest little bit, but it doesn't like come off on your hands. My little boy met me at the swimming pool and he always comes and gives me a huge cuddle, and lots of foundations that are, you know, a dewier finish, that are more of a runny consistency, will be all over his face when he presses his face on mine, and there was nothing. I don't think it claims to be transfer proof, but it definitely isn't one that has ended up all over my kids and all over clothes or anything like that. I haven't noticed it on anything. And pressing faces on my face, there was no transfer onto my children. So that is a huge plus. So after 8 hours of wear, let me just turn my lights down a little. The only thing to tell you about is this shiny schnoz, which is what happens to me 99.9% of the time. And with a glowier foundation, like, it's usually much worse than this at the 8 hour mark. So you can see I've got a shiny nose, and just here is a little bit shiny. That's literally all I have to show you. There's nothing else to show you as far as wear, as far as fading, as far as anything. You can see my blush and everything is still really on. Yeah, there's nothing else to tell you, and it has been, you know, not the easiest of days for a foundation, so I think it has done incredible. I think it looks beautiful. Let's give you a close-up. Oh, just knocked my umbrella light to the ground. So yeah, it looks just beautifully luminous, much like the Rodial. It stayed this perfect level of luminosity without looking shiny, apart from the schnoz, without looking like too dewy. Like, it definitely is so youthful on me. Like, I feel like you can't see like my lines. It's very blurring for sure. It is incredibly lightweight. It feels like nothing on, and has done all day long. It hasn't changed colour. It hasn't oxidized, nothing like that to worry about. I don't know anything bad to tell you other than the price. So there you have it. I think it's a beautiful foundation. I think the finish is special. Like, it's beautiful. It very much, like I said, reminds me of the Rodial. You know how I feel about that foundation. It's my holy grail. This one obviously has a far better shade range, far more shades to choose from, but is something like £15 more, but you do get 5 mils extra. So it's not that far off as far as £1 per mil. The only people I don't think that will like this are people expecting to get a solid medium coverage or more, because to me this is definitely a sheer to approaching medium. I don't think it's like, I've got lots of medium coverage foundations that I would say have more coverage than this. So yeah, I think expect it to be sheer to light to medium. And expect it to wear pretty decently. Oily skin folk, based on my nose, I'm not 100% sure that you'll love it. And dry skin folk, you've just got to be mindful of the alcohol in there, prepping your skin, and how you know your skin works with alcohol or not. And that is the best advice I can give you. I definitely think that she justifies the price with this product specifically, with the packaging, with the finish, with the ingredients, with the anti-aging properties. Incredible, like, can't see any makeup on your face quality and property that it has to it. Yeah, I'm in love. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. A really good shade for me as well. Like, the tone is perfect. I've got a video of it in natural daylight for you, so you can see that there's nothing like to hide in natural daylight. I got in my car and looked in the mirror of truth and was like, fair play, Pat, fair play. It's so flattering. I think mature skins will go nuts for this bad boy. So there you have it. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being so patient with me. Yeah, it was eventful, but we got there in the end. I'd love to see you in a future video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.